This woman's adult life has been a mess. Her everyday life is so dull that she has no purpose at all. The life she is living now is so much different than the life she used to live when she was a teen. She was so active and alive that everybody loved her. She even attacked the school's bully multiple times when he was picking on other kids. Even this bully was in love with her. A short flashback shows us that the woman, whose name is Hani, was walking carelessly through the road and a truck hit her. However, she was only hit lightly and she soon wakes up. But as she gives the doctors her personal information, she hears a girl's voice coming from the bed next to her. Not only does the girl's voice sound familiar, but she also gives the doctors the same exact information. Hani pulls the curtain between them and uncovers the young girl. The girl she is seeing is herself. She is Hani when she was a teen. This time she is not just a projection of her mind. But how did they get here? Adult Hani works in a supermarket. She gets to work every day dressed as a giant squid and she promotes some snacks. Today, a young boy tries some snacks but he wants to grab some fistfuls of them. Hani stops the boy, telling him that he is only allowed to taste one of them. The boy's mother verbally attacks Hani for stopping the boy, but at the same time, the kid develops a rush on his face. The manager takes Hani to his office and he seems very upset. He believes both of them are going to get fired, so he is afraid to tell his wife about it. When Hani leaves his office, she is approached by two police detectives who detain her and throw her in jail for the day. Next to her cell, the officers also bring a man named Yoo Hyun. Yoo Hyun is only wearing a coat and his underwear, so he starts narrating what happened to him because he doesn't want to be considered a pervert. He and his cousin, Do Yoon, like to do several activities, but a few days earlier, his father called him and told him that he would stop giving him money because Yoo Hyun is doing nothing productive with his life. Hyun decided to attend a few job interviews and finally landed a job as a masseur. After working for a couple of days, he got his shoulder dislocated and gave his father the money he had collected. Of course, that money was not enough to repay his father. His aunt, Do-yeon's mother, tried to convince his father to stop this, but Mr. G-Man took it one step further. Not only he told his son that he would not be allowed to stay in the house until he pays him back, but he also took his clothes and threw him out in his coat and underwear. Two policemen saw him and they arrested him. That's how he ended up in this cell. At the same time, a man named Anthony and his assistants, Park and Beek, enter the police station. He kneels in front of Hani because he recognizes her. While he was shooting his last film as the main star, Park brought him a coffee with milk in it. Since he is intolerant to milk, he had to answer nature's call. Hani was right there and she was taking pictures of him. Anthony rushed on her because a star actor like him can't be humiliated like that. Of course, Hani tried to explain that she was not taking pictures of him but rather of nature. Despite her explanation, Anthony charged at her and he broke her camera. The two of them discussed this matter with the detective even though it is completely irrelevant to the situation. Before Hani is let go, Yoo Hyun asks her to have the squid costume's head and she gives it to him. Next, Hani receives a phone call from her sister, Ha-young, who has set up a blind date for her. While she proceeds to buy some clothes, Do-yeon's wife, Ji-eun, bails Hyun out and gives him his credit card back so he can survive. Hyun meets with Hani again later that night while she is waiting for her date in a restaurant. When the guy appears, he comments that Hani looks more beautiful in the pictures than real life. Despite this comment, he throws many compliments at her. Even so, he decides to wire Hani the money to pay for the dinner while he is leaving the restaurant after telling her that he would just go to the bathroom. The night turns into a disaster for Hyun as well because his card has been frozen. G-Man tells his family to stop assisting Hyun because he has to learn how to take responsibility. Hani helps Hyun by paying for his meal and later treats him to a beer and a snack. When she realizes she has to go, she drops her phone on the road. She decides to go grab it, but she has not noticed the truck coming toward her. The series takes us 20 years in the past when the students in Hani's school vote for their favorite. All of them vote for Hani. Even the bully orders his minions to bring her to him so he can confess his love. However, his friends brought him Hani's bestie, Ji-eun. As for Hani, she delivers a ninja kick to the bully. When it's her turn to vote, Hani votes for herself because she is just amazing. One day, she wants to skip school, so she promises the bully, Chun-sik, that she will date him if he helps her. However, she traps him by giving him to drink milk because he is intolerant. Then, young Hani attends an audition for a dancing part, but her parents find her and take her away. Hani is mad at her parents while they drive under the heavy rain. She opens the car's door and runs through the traffic until a truck heads toward her. Now young Hani wakes up in the hospital as adult Hani. The adult version can't believe her eyes when she sees her younger self. She touches the teen to find out if she is real, and she looks like a real person. After smacking her head, she grabs her foot and realizes that the two of them have the same exact mole on their foot. Adult Hani can't calm herself down, so the security has to intervene and take her away. She acts like a crazy person, and the doctors decide to give her a shot in order to calm her down. Meanwhile, young Hani takes a look at her phone and she sees that she has 100 days available. But 100 days for what? Then, she bumps into Hyan and tries to find the way to the bus station. The girl also sees that the year is 2020, which makes no sense to her because this would mean she teleported to the future. When the adult Hani wakes up, she sees young Hani examining her ID. The girls appear to have the same name and the same details overall. Young Hani asks her older self to tell her something only she would know. Her adult self cites an incident when Hani fell on top of Chun-sik and kissed his lips. Young Hani exclaims that she has not told this incident to anyone, even her best friend. The girls have no idea what's going on and they wonder if they are part of some crazy experiment, maybe conducted by aliens. After they are done with their fantasies, the older self takes young Hani outside the hospital room, but they stumble on Hyan. He is curious, so he wants to stick with them. Hani doesn't want him along, but he shows her his arm and says she is responsible for his injury. Hani remembers that Hyan actually saved her and she was not injured heavily by the truck. Hyan helps the young Hani get outside the hospital, but when the older self finds him, he says that the teen has escaped. Hani is worried about her young self but manages to find her at a playground. Young Hani is trying to figure out if there is a way back home. Adult Hani takes the younger one home and hurries to do her chores. But then it is revealed that this house is not owned by Hani. In fact, the house is owned by her sister and Hani works as a maid in it. Soon, Hyan returns home with her son, Sun-oh, and Hani serves the food for them. Young Hani walks outside the room where her older self hid her because she has to go to the bathroom. However, she creates a mess and Hani sets the kitchen on fire while she tries to cover for the young girl. She has to put the fire out using the extinguisher, but her sister is really mad at her. Elsewhere, Hyan steals some of his father's expensive watches and clothes so he can sell them and make some money. At the same time, Hyan kicks her sister out of the house. Hani doesn't have any money, but she takes her younger self to spend the night in a hotel owned by her sister. Nonetheless, they have no money to buy food, so she calls Hyan to repay her for the money she paid at the restaurant. However, Hyan has no money and he just crashes with them. In the meantime, Anthony is revealed to be Chun-sik. The next morning, Hani returns to work, but the manager tells her that he has no idea if the owners are going to keep her or not until the situation with the boy's mother is cleared. Elsewhere, Ji-eun and the rest of the family are revealed to be shareholders at Joa Confectionery, the company that produces the snack the boy ate. Ji-eun tells the board not to pay compensation to the woman yet, until the specialists figure out how the boy developed the rush. Maybe their product is not to blame. Do-yeon's mother, Ji-suk, shows that she is not fond of her daughter-in-law when she tells her that she always tries to outshine her husband. First Hani and then Ji-eun try to make amends with the boy's mother, but things go sideways when the boy walks to the hall and young Hani offers him some snacks that give him an allergy again. Adult Hani knows the young one messed up and takes her away before anyone can tell what happened. The older self blames the younger one, but the latter expresses her disgust for her older self. She has become a pathetic human being who begs others and depends on them. The fight is over when young Hani recalls that her father was hit by the truck. She asks old Hani about it, but she says that their father is currently working in another city. The two girls part ways and the old Hani receives a phone call from her mother, who is seen working as a cab driver with Hani's grandma on the back. The granny suffers from memory loss, so her daughter has to take her along. Devastated by these events, Hani considers ending herself, but she is grabbed by 3 gangsters. When the situation is cleared at the police station, one of the gangsters gives her his card in case she ever needs him because he is a debt collector. In the meantime, the young Hani tries to reenact the car accident hoping to get back in her timeline, but she can't just throw herself in front of a car. Her older self finds her again and she takes the young one to spend the night at a house owned by her sister. The two girls spend the night together while at the same time, Anthony meets with Yoo Hyan to buy an expensive watch. Obviously, Hyan sells the items he stole from his father to make some money. Later, Do-yeon visits his cousin to bring him some food and informs him that Ji-man has told everyone not to assist Hyan in any way. The next day, the man meets with his father to let him know that he is going to make it on his own and repay him. Mr. Ji-man admits that his son is a good-looking fellow, which is kind of irrelevant to their conversation. Old Hani meets with her nephew, Sun-Oh, and asks him about time-space disruptions. The young man is very clever and he could know the answer, but not quite. Young Hani is almost seen by Ha-young, but she manages to run outside with her older self. Right outside, the girls are met by a man named Jobs. The man seems to know that they are the same person from two different timelines, so the girls are convinced to follow him to his office. There, Jobs tells them that time is going to run out for young Hani sooner or later, so they need to send her back to her timeline. To do so, they have to perform a ritual on a rainy day. Next, Hani asks the debt collectors to get her money back from Hyan, but as it appears, the young man has already wired Hani's money. The two of them have a talk outside, and Hyan accidentally drops his stuff. Hani sees him picking up a keychain and she says that this item belongs to her. A flashback is triggered and we are shown that little Hyan was being bullied by Chun-sik, who wanted to steal a necklace from him. However, Hani got involved and saved the young boy, also beating Chun-sik. After she helped the boy, Hani ran away but she dropped her keychain. Back in the present, Hyan agrees that this keychain belongs to her and he gives it back. Soon, Hani returns home and her younger self throws a party for them because this nightmare will be over for them the next time it will start raining. The next morning, the board of Joa Confectionery is informed that their snack is not proven guilty for the boy's rush, even though it could be to blame, so they are not obligated to pay the woman. At the same time, Hani has a talk with her manager at the supermarket to ask for her job back, but their discussion leads to a confrontation. Hani acts more aggressively and she decides to quit even if they want to take her back. When she walks outside, she tells her younger self that she is going to change from now on. Young Hani has already given her a lesson in self-confidence. Then, the girls see a man holding a sign and asking for justice to be served toward the company. Inside the building, G-Man sees his son serving food and has a talk with him. Hyan explains that he is going to work as a cook within the company and he is going to live in a student apartment. G-Man believes he will not last 2 days, so Hyan bets that he will do this for 100 days straight. If he pulls it off, their debt will be settled. In the meantime, the two Hanis set up a dancing protest, asking for justice. G-Man has a talk with them but doesn't tell them that he is the chairman of the company. Later, the Hanis return to their sister's house, but Ha-yang is there waiting for them, since she has not given them permission to live here. They start fighting and the younger Hani uncovers that her sister is wearing a wig. Of course, this results in both of Hanis getting kicked out. Elsewhere, Hyan intends on buying an expensive coat, but Anthony is present inside the same store and he is trying the same coat on. The two men start fighting because they both believe they look better in that coat. Meanwhile, the younger Hani is having a bath in a hotel room while thinking of a devious plan. The next morning, the two girls meet with Ha-yang, who gives them some money. A flashback shows us that young Hani pretended to be old Hani's daughter, who used to live in the United States, but she and her mother need some support now that she is back. Back in the present, old Hani scolds her for what she did but then congratulates her once she sees the amount her sister just offered them. As for Hyan, he has started working hard and he also takes good care of the people who work with him. While two of his co-workers get some rest, he returns to the kitchen and prepares all of the vegetables they need. Elsewhere, Anthony is traveling on a boat toward an island in order to meet with a female screenwriter who is preparing a K-drama series. Anthony has brought her some treats and indirectly asks her to say a good word for him when she delivers her script to the producer. He would love to play in this series. That day, Hanis decide to rent an apartment and Hyan does the same, actually renting an apartment in the same building. As they return from their shopping, Hanis see Hyan hugging his aunt and they mistake him for being a male escort who dates older women. In the meantime, Anthony and his assistants return to their base, and Beek starts giving them a presentation using all the data he was able to gather on Anthony. The actor was loved by the audience when he started out, but now his stats are going down. That night, Hyan accidentally stumbles on Hani and herself. He sits down with them and offers a drink to the adult Hani. When the adult one leaves the table for a couple of minutes, the younger one tells Hyan that she can understand he likes her mother. The next morning, the Hanis continue their dancing protest and the chairman sees them again. He recalls the discussion he had with them, which revolved around the emotional connection that snacks can help people forge, and he decides to offer Hani a job in the company, but he still does not reveal himself as the chairman of the company. In the meantime, Hyan traps a guy who has been following around. The man, Song, reveals that Hyan's aunt hired him to follow Hyan around. Hyan tells him that he should do so and keep reporting to his aunt, but he will only report whatever Hyan wants him to. Adult Hani celebrates her new job with her younger self. After they grab some food, They visit a clothing store to buy a new suit for the new job position. As adult Hani tries on a suit, she recalls the day of the accident and how her father was hurt. Young Hani enters the dressing room and she sees a mark on her leg. Hani admits that this injury happened the day when the accident occurred. Later, Hani receives a phone call from her mother, who tells her that Granny's condition is getting worse. Her mother, Ok Jong, pays her a quick visit that night, and the granny attacks Hani as soon as she looks at her. The reason for that is that she blames her for her son's death at the accident. While this scene unfolds, young Hani sees them. Her adult self finds her crying in the house, and the young girl proclaims she is sad because her mother and grandma have gotten so old. Unfortunately, this is the reality of life, and time is ruthless. The next morning, Ji-man has a talk with Do-yoon to tell him that he should always be ready to step up and take on more responsibilities within the company. Do-yoon can't understand why his uncle is having this discussion with him, but Ji-man does not explain anything more for the moment. At the same time, Hani enters the product development department, the department she is going to work in, and apologizes to her colleagues for being late. A short flashback shows us why she was late. After Song sent a message to Hyun's aunt, his new boss sent him to grab some coffee for them. On his way back with the coffee, he bumped into Hani and spilled coffee on her jacket. Hani had to wash her clothes in the bathroom and then go to work. When Ji-yoon sees her, she suspects this woman is her best friend from their childhood years. Hani was a popular girl back then, and Ji-yoon was nothing more than her sidekick. She checks Hani's CV and she confirms that she is indeed her old childhood friend. As for Hani's younger self, she has enough time and freedom to go crazy. She visits a store to grab some burgers and befriends a quiet girl, asking her to pay for the burgers and promising her that she will pay her back. When she sees an ad on the girl's phone, she fantasizes about being a star. A supposed shooter tries to kill her, but her bodyguards save her and everything turns into a beautiful song. Hani goes to the casting, but the producer tells her that she is only going to be a supporting dancer in a clip. Hani doesn't like the sound of that, but she has to start somewhere and also needs the money. As for her older self, she volunteers to buy some food for her team, but she steps on something and the food spills. She goes back to the shop to buy some more food, but it is finished. Hyun tries the sauce left on the seller's stand and he goes back to his kitchen to cook that same food. Then, he delivers it to Hani's team and everyone is happy with it. A couple of hours later, Ji-yoon tells Hani that she is her past friend, but also explains to her that their personal relationship should not interfere with their work relationship. Meanwhile, young Hani steals some of Hyun's stuff, but her son spots her and tries to stop her. Adult Hani receives a phone call and she goes to the police station to get her younger self out of there. Just outside the police station, Hyun expresses how dissatisfied she is with having Hani as her sister. She warns her to keep her daughter away from her son and walks away. This incident destroys Hani's good mood, but her younger self tries to cheer her up. She pulls a stereo outside her backpack and plays a song on it. This song reminds Hani of how she and her father used to dance and sing together. This makes her feel weak and she goes outside. She sits on the stairs and starts crying, remembering her past. Hyun is watching her, but she decides not to intervene. Anthony visits Jobs to find out how he can become loved by the audience again, and the latter tells him that he has to perform some kind of a ritual. Anthony takes him for a scammer, but then Jobs reveals a detail that only Anthony and his close friends know: that he became an actor because he wanted to attract the attention of a girl. The next morning, Hani meets the chairman by accident and Hyun joins the party. The chairman signals him not to reveal his true identity, so the young man tells Hani that this guy is a thief. Hani decides to grab the bull by the horns and she cleans the office as soon as she steps foot in it. Then, he starts dancing along with the rest of the team when it's time for the company's daily energizing routine. In the meantime, Anthony attends a commercial where he is supposed to dress as a squid in order to advertise the product, which is a snack of Joa Confectionery. He doesn't like that at all, but his assistants beg him to do it because they have to restart from somewhere. Ji-yoon's team is informed that one of their factories will not be able to deliver some of the product samples on time, so Hani offers to go there and bring the snacks back to them. As she leaves the office, she stumbles on young Hani, who is a part of the commercial. She chases after her but loses her. However, she meets Anthony. After a short exchange, she grabs a box she is supposed to deliver to the factory and waits for a taxi. Hyun sees her and decides to help her, so he orders Song to bring him a car. Back inside the confectionery, Anthony kills it in the ad. Young Hani sees him eating some sandwiches, and she recalls Chun-sik eating those same sandwiches like crazy. That reminds her that Chun-sik tried to kiss her in the past after he ate a couple of sandwiches. The two of them fell and their lips touched. She also notices that he has a marking on the back of his neck. so this proves that Anthony is Chun-sik. Hani throws some milk in his drink, which sends him straight to the bathroom. There, Anthony sees a message where the writer claims they know his true identity. The message is also accompanied by an old picture of his. Hani and Hyun deliver the box to the factory and they wait for the sample snacks to be produced. As they head back with the snacks, they see a man drowning in a lake. Hani tapes the snacks together and she uses them to create a life jacket, which she throws to the man in order to save him. Hani puts her own life at risk, but Hyun saves her and pulls her out of the water. When she returns to the office, the snacks are destroyed and Ji-eun starts yelling at her. There is no way she can believe Hani's story. When they have a moment alone, Hani begs her to give her another chance. Hani almost falls from the stairs, but she is saved by her younger self. The two of them go to the bathroom to talk and Ji-eun sees them together, realizing that this young girl looks a lot like her old friend. A flashback shows us that the two girls had an unpleasant last exchange. Ji-eun tried to cheer her up when Hani lost her father, but the girl yelled at her and asked her to leave. That night, the power is off at the apartment building and the girls hear something that sounds like a ghost. They also see a shadow walking outside, so they decide to check it out. Thankfully, it's just Hyun walking around. However, a female figure is seen removing her wig while walking away. The next morning, the chairman and his family watch the news, so they realize that Hani was telling the truth. The chairman likes this story and tells the marketing department to use it. The company's snacks saving a life is absolutely awesome. Ji-eun apologizes to Hani and they can continue their work. Meanwhile, Anthony and his assistants review the video footage from yesterday and they find the culprit. The assistants have a talk with Hani, but she doesn't back up an inch. Instead, she shows them another picture she has with Chun-sik and asks them not to push it or else she will reveal his true identity. Back in the company, Do-yoon takes the product development department for some food and then some karaoke. Both of the events turn into an informal challenge between Hani and Ji-eun, who is eager to prove that she is the star. Elsewhere, the aunt, Ji-suk, meets with one of her guys and receives some information on the chairman. She is scheming against him because she wants to take over the company. Hani walks home a bit drunk that night. Hyun sees her and carries her back home. At the same time, Anthony and his assistant find her house and he decides to pay a visit to the young Hani. But when he enters the house, he sees Hyun inside and a competition is sparked between the two of them. Anthony walks outside a bit dazzled because he just saw two Hanis. Later, young Hani has a talk with Hyun and she realizes that he is the crybaby she saved in the past. Hani exclaims that the incident happened a few days ago, but then corrects herself and says that her mother told her about it a few days ago. The next morning, Anthony visits the girls again to bring them some money. Adult Hani learns that her young self blackmailed Anthony, so she takes the money and returns it to him. She also gives him the pictures young Hani has of them. Then, she returns back home to make sure that young Hani doesn't keep any more pictures of Chun-sik. At Joa Confectionery, the chairman is informed that their sales have dipped on their strawberry-based products. Ji-eun informs him that they had an issue with the farm which provided them with strawberries, so they broke the contract and worked with a new farm. Sun-ho is attracted to young Hani, which makes it really weird because she is still his aunt. But then, he should probably know that if she is his aunt's daughter, she is his cousin too. While adult Hani is not efficient at tasting and evaluating new snacks, Anthony and Hyun keep meeting each other accidentally, which makes the competition between them grow. Anthony says that he used to date Hani and that makes Hyun imagine a scene of them, something that seems disgusting to him. Hani's team is on a new mission and they visit the first farm that used to provide them with strawberries. The owner doesn't want to work with them again because they broke the contract, but Hani comes up with an idea and calls Hyun. She asks him to describe a few recipes made with strawberries as a base ingredient, and she proceeds to cook them. When she presents the foods, everybody likes them. Hani tells them that all products made of their strawberries are delicious, so they should not hold them from their customers. The farm owner is convinced and Ji-eun tells the board that they should pay the farm whatever amount they want because their strawberries are worth it. Hyun grabs some food with Hani that night, but he can't get those annoying images of her dating Anthony out of his mind. Then, the two of them walk home together and they have a deep conversation. As for Anthony, his assistants have some bad news for him. By checking his social media accounts, they realize that Anthony is losing popularity and many haters are turning against him. The next day, adult Hani buys a smartphone for young Hani, a fact that really amazes the young girl. As they walk outside the store, they see the girl Hani met the other day being bullied by a group of 3 girls. Both Hanis try to help her, but they are beaten by the bullies. But then, the small girl unleashes her rage and her skill, beating up the bullies. They all end up at the police station, where Hani realizes that the girl's father is a man from her department. While they share a meal, the man proclaims that it's been a long time since he saw his daughter this happy. After they part ways, adult Hani tells her younger self that she is proud of her. The next day, Anthony organizes an event to bridge the gap between him and his haters. The girls attend the event and Hyun does the same, or at least he is forced to do so since he has followed the girls. When Song receives a call from Ji-suk, he tells her that Hyun is doing some volunteer work. The aunt is surprised because Hyun is not acting like his old self at all. After the event, Anthony's assistants treat the haters to a meal and they tell them that they will do this again if they take some nice pictures with Anthony. At some point, Anthony eats something that sends him to the toilet again, but it is not milk. Hani helps him relax and they have a private moment. Anthony is drawn to her, showing once more that he still likes her. In Ji-hoon's house, her mother-in-law catches her eating a late snack and really takes her down. Do-yoon hears her and intervenes, telling his mother that she is too tough on his wife. After Anthony's event, he wants to take the girls home, but Hyun tags along with them. The two of them enter the house with the girls and they come really close for the first time when the lights are cut off and they see somebody walking right outside the apartment. The four of them burst outside to exorcise the ghost, but they suddenly realize that the ghost is wearing sneakers and comfortable pants. The group runs after the ghost, but Hyun and Anthony end up fighting one another. Hani catches the ghost and removes the woman's wig. As it seems, this ghost is the landlady's niece, who wanted to scare Hani away because she wants to have the apartment to herself. Anthony and Hyun are about to fight, but they decide to talk things out. Despite them talking in peace, no real conclusion is drawn, so let the best man win. When Hyun comes back to Hani's house, she starts telling him that it would be nice if there were snacks that can be safely eaten by the people who can't eat any of the existing snacks. Hani came up with this idea by recalling the boys' incident in Anthony. In fact, Joa Confectionery holds an annual competition every year where the employees can participate by suggesting new snack ideas. Since there is a money prize as well, Hani and Hyun agree to team up in order to win the competition. The two of them wake up early the next morning and they commute to the company. They sit down at a table and Hyun presents some of his ideas. The trick for their snack will be to find a base ingredient that can be eaten by everyone without causing any intolerances or allergies. The chairman meets his son in the elevator that day and has a brief exchange with him, but when he gets to his office, he is clearly glad that his son is dedicated to working on something that excites him. Meanwhile, Anthony asks young Hani to join his agency because he believes she is going to be a valuable asset for them due to her cute face. Hani follows him to his office, but she is not in the mood to agree to any of Anthony's terms, such as having to respect him. In adult Hani's office, the girl's father from the other day gives her a notebook as a form of gratitude. The notebook contains some of his notes on what to focus on when tasting a snack. At the same time, Ji-hoon experiences some pain and her husband takes her to see her doctor. The doctor announces to them that she is 3 months pregnant. When they walk outside, Ji-hoon is worried because she danced a lot and drank too much the other day, but Do-yoon tells her that everything is just fine. Elsewhere, Ji-suk meets with one of her spies and she is informed that the chairman is in constant communication with the other board members, which means they are close to him. But then, she figures out there is another way to take over the company, hostile takeover. If she manages to dip the price of the company's stock, she will be able to buy many of them and become the biggest shareholder, which means her vote will have more power. In the meantime, the chairman is working in his office, but now we realize there is something off with him. It seems like he has some vision problems. Adult Hani continues her work while roaming a supermarket, speaking on the phone, and discussing with her colleagues. Her eyes are fixed on tofu. She calls Hyun immediately and tells him that tofu can be the base ingredient for their snack. Later, Do-yoon takes his cousin to grab some food and announces that Ji-hoon is pregnant. Hyun is very happy about it and he lets the whole store know. Adult Hani has a meeting with her family to discuss Granny's condition, but she also has a private talk with her sister. Hani takes the stereo out and Ha-yang is touched to see it because it reminds her of their father. But as they talk, the granny has left the house. Hani and her mother drive around until they find her and bring her back home. The next day, Hani is happy to hear that Hyun is already working on some variations of their snack. Meanwhile, Anthony has landed a new gig and he becomes the face of the town hall. As for young Hani, she visits Ha-yang's house in order to visit her grandma. The old lady wakes up and she recognizes the girl. The old lady hugs the girl and tells her some beautiful words, but she also gives her a charger and tells her that she needs to answer the phone call. Hani tries to leave the house, but she is stalled by Sun-oh. Then, OK Jong sees her as well and Hani drops the charger as she tries to run away from her. The mother calls adult Hani because she wants them to meet. It's so strange for her to see her daughter being a kid. Diyun has lunch with Ji-yoon and they see Ji-suk meeting with the farm's owner. Privately, the woman says she will pay him to bail on his deal with Joa Confectionery and leaves him to think about her offer. But after she leaves, the man reveals that he has recorded this conversation. At night, OK Jong visits her daughter and brings her the charger Young Hani left behind because the granny scolded her about it. When Young Hani returns home, she plugs her old phone and sees that it is charging indeed. In the meantime, the chairman visits his eye doctor, who tells him that his condition is progressing and he will eventually go blind. He tries to walk without his eyesight glasses, but he stumbles all around. His son finds him and they decide to grab dinner together. While they eat, Hyun tells the chairman that he never taught him how to drink like a father should. However, Ji-man replies that he didn't do it because Hyun never had time for him. But it is never too late, so they start drinking. Soon, Hyun finalizes some of his snack samples and he takes them to Young Hani for a test run. The girl tries all of them, but they are lacking that X factor that will make her go crazy. The next day, Young Hani prepares to attend an audition, but her older self follows her. The advertisers like both of them and invite adult Hani to be a part of the ad as well. Later, the girls see Hyun with his aunt and they get really mad at him for being a male escort. But Hyun follows them to the house and explains to them that the woman they saw is his aunt. Now that they are friends again, they gather a study group to try their snacks, but the participants agree that the snacks are lacking that special flair. Hani recalls a childhood memory when a couple of crazy guys popped up roasted rice by using a machine. She tells Hyun about it and they add roasted rice on top of their main snack. When it's time for the competition, Hani has changed her looks and she is ready to give an awesome presentation. While adult Hani delivers a heartfelt presentation, her younger self receives a call on her phone. She stalls. Her sister walks into the apartment and she misses the call. When she is left alone, Hyun takes a look at the phone and we are able to see that Young Hani has 34 days left. In the meantime, Park brings some good news for Anthony, who has landed the part in the K-drama he wanted to act. That night, Hyun takes the girl to dinner. As he observes them, he realizes that they often move in the same exact way. Is something more going on here? But he is not the only person wondering about Young Hani's origin. Jobs receives a worrying message from the Divine while Ha-young and OK Jong discuss about the girl. The similarity between Young Hani and her supposed mother is way too much to ignore. While they eat, the Hanis watch the weather forecast on the TV. Hearing that it is going to rain tonight, they rush to get into a taxi and go to a certain location in order to perform the ritual that will send Young Hani back to her timeline. However, they have forgotten their phone and Hyun picks it up when Jobs calls Hani to tell her that she should not perform the ritual. Hyun gets into a taxi to go after the girls. As he rides the cab, he thinks about the events backward and he figures out that Young Hani is in fact Hani. In other words, the two girls are the same person. Adult Hani realizes she has forgotten her phone, so she uses her younger self's phone to call her number. Hyun picks up and tells her about the message Jobs gave him, which is not to perform the ritual. At the same time, the cab driver declares that the brakes are not working, resulting in the car crashing into a tree. When Hani wakes up in a hospital, Jobs visits her and tells her that he was wrong about the ritual. Plus, they have a bigger problem. Fate is trying to correct this glitch in the Matrix, which is Young Hani appearing in this timeline, so the girl is in danger. Jobs tells Hani that she has to find a way to send her younger self back to her timeline, but until then, she has to protect her from dying. Jobs gives her a spell that will keep Young Hani safe for a while. Hyun wants to know more details about sending Young Hani back to her timeline, but Jobs has no idea how to do that, so they should hold tight until he finds a way. In the meantime, Ji-suk invites Ji-yoon to grab a bite and talks to her about the importance of keeping their family together. The old lady's real motive is to recruit the woman for her devious future plans. Back home, adult Hani places the spell on top of their entrance to prevent evil energy from following them there. Later, the old lady meets with Song, who is still working for her even though he is pretending to be Hyun's friend, and gets a flash drive from him. She gives the drive to Ji-yoon and the latter proceeds to plug it into Hani's computer after guessing her password. The next day is going to be an emotional roller coaster for adult Hani. First, her younger self tells her that she missed the call although her granny said she had to answer it. Then, adult Hani's colleagues wait for her to celebrate because she won the snack contest. But next, a few officials walk in and take her because they have evidence she stole the snack recipe from another company. Hyun is taken as well. Ji-yoon cries when she sees this, while the old lady calls her son for a talk in her office. Ji-suk is preparing to make waves and she clarifies that she expects her son to be on her side. Hani and Hyun are interrogated, but they proclaim they worked on the snack recipe step by step. They never copied anyone. Later, Ji-man has a minor health crisis and his son visits him. Hyun swears that he is not a cheater and asks his father to believe him because he knows his son. Meanwhile, Anthony is faced with his past as one reporter has uncovered that he used to be a school bully. This revelation hurts his reputation, so Anthony decides to set up a press conference where he announces that he will stop working as an actor. When adult Hani returns home, she can't find her younger self and she runs out to search for her. Unable to find her, she goes back home and sees young Hani eating. Adult Hani is mad at her and lays it all out. Then, she walks outside to have some time to herself. Hyun sees her and offers her a napkin, but Hani says she doesn't cry easily. Hyun believes that's a lie because he has seen her crying many times. After he offers her some words of encouragement, Hani returns home and she reconciles with her younger self. The next day, Ji-suk meets with her son to give him a flash drive. Outside the company, Hyun meets with Song and reveals that he knows Song is working for his aunt. Back inside, Do-yoon plugs the drive into his computer and he sees the video footage of his wife planting the evidence in Hani's computer. Hyun interrupts him and takes him for a drink, asking him if he was aware of the conspiracy plotted behind his back. Do-yoon replies that he had no idea. That night, Ji-yoon visits Hani to grab a bit with her and her younger self, and announces that she is pregnant. Young Hani receives the news with excitement because Ji-yoon was just her young friend a month ago, and she is now pregnant. As Hani escorts Ji-yoon to her car when it's time for her to leave, the two of them express they are sorry about the way things ended between them in the past. One day later, Ji-suk reveals to her son that the farm owner is blackmailing her with the recording he has in his possession. She wants her son to meet with him soon because she has some evidence that he is embezzling money from the farm, which they will use to keep him quiet. As for our protagonists, they decide to spend the day together while the chairman sees some terrible news. As it appears, metal fibers have been found on some of the company's products. The chairman literally collapses. Later, Hani's mother and sister find an old photo album and they observe that young Hani is identical to how Hani looked as a teen. Ok Jong is determined to visit her daughter that night and she is not hearing any excuses. Ha-yang joins them and Hani has no choice but to tell them the truth. At the same time, Hyun visits his father in the hospital and Ji-man pretends he is okay. In reality, though, he can't see. Once his son is gone, Ji-man asks Do-yoon not to reveal his condition to anyone and also asks for his help to lay low for a little while. Ji-suk makes her move and gathers the top shareholders of the company to tell them that she will organize a vote soon. The chairman is not well and it is in their best interest to replace him with somebody who can really run the company. Ok Jong tells her daughter that she will assist her in everything she needs, but Hani has more good news to receive. The next morning, Hyun tells her that the two of them are being accepted back to work because nobody has any credible proof against them. The accusations against their supposed plagiarized snack are just claims. Hyun gets back to work, but he becomes worried when he realizes that he can't find his father even in the hospital. Hyun calls his cousin to ask him if he knows anything about it, and Do-yoon says that his uncle is abroad on a business trip. As it appears, Do-yoon has lied to him. Ji-man wants to spend some time alone in order to get familiar with his new life without being able to see. Ok Jong brings some food to young Hani and the girl happily eats it. The two of them spend some quality time together and Ok Jong remembers the joys of being a mother. At work, Ji-yoon is confronted by her mother-in-law again because she has realized that the young woman failed to plant the evidence against Hani's and Hyun's snack. Do-yoon sees his wife crying and asks his mother to stop being so mean to his wife. That night, young Hani is almost hit by a car, but her older self saves her. Back at the house, adult Hani reveals the truth and asks the young one to be more careful. Hyun accidentally saves Song's grandma and takes her back to her house. Seeing what a nice man Hyun is, Song decides to help Hyun with everything he'll need. Meanwhile, Do-yoon meets with the farm owner and tells him to let his mother alone, because they have evidence of him stealing money from his company. One day later, Hyun follows Do-yoon to his father's location. Ji-man's assistant reads a contract that Do-yoon has brought for him. The contract basically asks Ji-man to transfer his company shares to Ji-suk. Then, Hyun arrives and has a talk with his father, convincing him not to give up on his life. While Ji-suk holds a meeting with the board, Hyun crashes the party with his father, who declares that this meeting is over. Meanwhile, Ji-yoon visits her doctor and she is told that her fetus is smaller than the normal size. The doctor consults her to try and be less stressed, so Ji Ayun starts by coming clean to her husband. She tells him everything Ji Suk asked her to do, but she never planted the evidence because she could not do harm to Hyun and her old friend. Soon, Ji-man is informed that Ji Suk is asking for a vote and they can't stop at this time. The employees at the company hear that many of them are going to be laid off if Ji Suk becomes the new president, but Hyun walks in with an idea. He asks everyone to help him find all the minor shareholders and convince them to participate in the vote. If they vote for Ji-man, they will be able to win this internal fight and nobody will be fired. Elsewhere, young Hani has secretly followed her mother and she finds out that her father is dead. After the vote, Hyun announces to everyone that they have won. Ji Suk faces Ji-man and blames him for her misery. According to her, she should have been the one to take control of the company. Do-yoon is allied with his uncle, and a few police officers come to arrest Ji Suk for all the illegal stuff she has done. Ji Suk is mad at everybody, but Do-yoon tells her that he had to stop her from turning into a monster. Adult Hani meets her younger self and her mother, trying to console them. Young Hani feels terrible because she holds herself accountable for her father's death. Okay, Jong tells her daughter that she should not blame herself, and the three women hug each other. Do-yoon returns home to his wife. Upon being asked what happened, Do-yoon hugs her and tells her that he loves being in her arms. Then, he meets with Hyun and assures him that he is going to be fine. It is about time for the two of them to start having fun again. When Hyun meets Hani again, he walks her back to her house, but they see Anthony waiting for her. Hyun gives them a moment and Anthony tells Hani that he is going to leave the city. When Hyun and Hani go inside the house, her younger self's phone rings and Hyun picks up. The caller is her father, who tells her that he wanted to give her another chance in life, but he ended up putting her and her younger self in danger. The father tells her that she has to find a way to send young Hani back to her timeline and then hangs up. The problem is that Hani does not have the slightest idea of how to send her younger self in the past. The spell turns black as Hani sees that the young one only has 7 days left. The grandma prays for young Hani, but she falls sick as she absorbs her negative energy. Adult Hani asks her younger self if she has any ideas, but the girl can't think of a way. Hyun takes them to Jobs, who is unable to advise them as well. He only tells them that Hani knows what to do. Hyun snaps at him because his advice is no good, but Jobs says that people sometimes fail to see what's in front of their eyes. Later, young Hani stares at a picture of their father, feeling bad about herself. Adult Hani tries to lift her mood and talks to her about all the awesome things they did while young Hani was here. Not only they had a great time together, but young Hani also helped her adult version find herself and start enjoying her life again. Do-yoon visits his mother in prison to clarify that he loves her, but loving her is not the same as agreeing to help her in doing evil deeds. That night, Hyun brings a cake to eat with the girls. When he sees a picture of their father, he recalls that he has seen him in the past. When he lost his mother as a kid, the man gave him a pack of snacks and a lily flower to uplift him. The next morning, young Hani is almost killed again, but her older self saves her. This means that they need to hurry and find the way back. Hyun and Ji-man visit Ji Suk in prison and they tell her that nothing is the same without her, so they will be waiting for her to return home. In the meantime, young Hani sees the photo album and she is drawn to the picture of a field full of lily flowers. That night she also dreams about that same field and sees herself walking toward a tunnel. With only 2 days remaining, Hani knows what to do. When adult Hyun wakes up, young Hani is already gone. A flashback shows us that Hani had visited that place with her father when she was a teen. Hyun and adult Hani find the girl in that field. After greeting them goodbye, the young girl heads inside the tunnel and a bright light reflects on her face. She is transferred back to her timeline, and her father is hit by the truck in his attempt to save her. Hani approaches him with tears in her eyes, but her father tells her not to blame this on herself. Back in the future timeline, adult Hani visits her family to tell them that young Hani is gone. The granny walks outside the room and finally makes peace with her niece, apologizing to her for blaming her son's death on her for so many years. Everything falls into place little by little. Hyun decides to ditch the kitchen and he joins the product development team. Anthony becomes a cook and works in a store. One day Hyun meets with him and realizes he is the buyer who bought his father's expensive watch. Finally, Hyun continues spending time with Hyun until they eventually become a couple.